Hello. This is Rainier Avenue Radio, coming to you live from Seattle's Columbia City Theater. I'm Sam Harris, housing economist and co-founder of SeeKing Change, a collective examining the homeless situation in the greater Seattle and King County region. Now, each week, we're going to explore an issue at the heart of the homelessness problem, find the root causes, and at the end of this 12-week run, we're going to present a unified regional solution. Now, today, we're proud to have as our guest Maurece Graham-Bey, Executive Director of the nonprofit Save the Kids and tireless caseworker. He is currently on a train, and he is joining us in the traffic, and appreciate having you, Maurece.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hear you real well.
Perfect.
Excellent.
It's good to
All
see
right. Yeah, great to have you on the show. So let's dive into one of your key notions here of kind of diving into what is the homeless industry expertise that we need to make a dent, to turn things around, because it's climbing, right? The numbers keep growing. We've got the point in time count. It is a lot higher than last year. So it feels like we have a lot of experts in the arena, but maybe in specific fields, in their own silos. And, how do we extract the expertise that we need to make a dent and turn this around?
Well, I think a big part of it is, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Well, now you paused. Oh, the magic of trains. Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Now we got you back.
All right, can you hear me okay? So
Yeah.
I think a part of it is the industry needs a massive role reversal. And so there's been a lot of attention in the last decade or so on lived experience. And that does need to be at the forefront. It's I like to compare it to other industries or even the military, let's say. There's a lot of complaints historically through people in the military about green soldiers or officers being in positions and they've never been in the field, right? And the homeless sector is no different. It does not mean that there's not a role for people who are technically trained or have skills that are applicable to other types of fields. But what it means is they need to be in an advisory role. They need to be helping these people who have experience make decisions instead of vice versa. Right now, you have people who have never been in the field, quote unquote, who are making all the decisions and receiving advice from the people with the experience. That needs to be reversed. And that has to be reversed. There has to be a role where you say, okay, you've lived this life. You've been involved with this. Now, we're going to get you the best tools available to make you the one badass service worker, right? To get stuff done.
Yeah, I think this is normally when my daughter would jump in, Gen Z, and she would say, "Yeah, let's just make the politicians homeless so they get the feel for it," right?
Well, no,
then we'll see action, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot to be said for when people are put in different circumstances and they're able to see things. There's just certain things that are available to the human mind when we are in certain settings that aren't available to others who haven't had that mystery. And so whether it's the fact that we are curious people as a whole, our species is very curious. And so if you put us out of a classroom, if you put us in a library, if you put us anywhere too long, that individual who is in that arena is going to come up with some ideas that other people don't readily have available to them. And it's the same on the streets. People who are walking the streets, they see things that you and I don't on a basis. They are close to things that we don't see, whether it's just salvaging and picking things up off the ground that are left behind, or the ability to interact and engage with people on a different level because they have so much interaction time. There's just a world of difference culturally as well as experientially for a person who is trying to survive in that environment versus inside the environment that we quote unquote call a norm.
Right. Yeah. Policy seems to be driven by people who don't have the experience. And I know that right now, one of our previous guests, Ruby Romero on the COC board, is struggling with making sure that she has the lived experience. She knows on the ground, she knows the policy, and she's looking at what is happening with the power structures and the systems in place, where expertise is kind of falling through the cracks and not being heard. They're there, but they're not necessarily being listened to. And there's a difference between being there and pacifying that opinion, but then just okay, thank you, and then doing whatever you want to do. It feels like there's a lot of middle management getting in the way of actual change.
Absolutely. No, I think that a lot of people make it very popular to say things like, let's put power back into people's hands. Let's make this a people-centered focus. A lot of people say that, but if you are saying that, then you are not doing it. And so if you are not doing it,
look around for personal belongings.
That kind of means you're probably the person that we're talking about replacing.
Looking around for personal belongings here. But
yeah, that's it. So it generally, we personalize things that we personally have a stake in. So if you're going to play me one-on-one in basketball, you're going to say, I have 3 points, you have 2 points. You're going to personalize it. We're playing one-on-one, we're going to 10. When you hit the 7th basket, you're going to say, I got the 7th basket. And so until the leadership that is doing the talking is saying, we have to get power back in our hands, then you understand that leadership is talking third person. They're not the person that needs to be there.
Right. Right. Okay. So the power structure that is in play in King County, we have the COC, which is a required platform that HUD streams money through, and then the KCRHA, the King County Regional Homeless Authority, is the one that takes that money and disperses it to the resource providers who have the contracts. It's all approved by HUD, and it's all nicely streamlined. It would seem like that would be a very simple process. Where are the cracks? Where are we missing? Because it feels like HUD, KCRHA, and the COC board, they're all looking at the rules and the intent of all of these nonprofits and channeling money where they feel like it'll work the best. Is it the actual resource providers that we're just not getting the right money in the right places? Or is it just not enough money? Or possibly, are we just doing it wrong?
Well, yeah. This does come down to, I've never had a problem with the way that the KCRHA was organized. I think that there was a lot of thoughtfulness that went into the organizational structure of KCRHA in the first place. How that has played out is very different.
Doors closing.
And I think that is largely because there was a hesitancy to fully put power into the hands of people with lived experience. Putting power into the people's hands was a struggle. So they had to create an institution extra to be the one that had all the power. So if you look at it, it's not people of lived experience that are competing to be the next CEO of KCRHA. They're not competing to be in the top administrative roles. They are relegated to advisory roles. And that is a big difference. That's where the kink is coming, because you have a reversal. You have the advisor. That would be like Cus D'Amato was Mike Tyson's coach through most of Tyson's undefeated career. And I'm not going to argue that Cus D'Amato didn't have great advice. I don't know that personally, but it seems that his advice was working. Tyson was crushing everybody from an early age. That's an advisor's role. Now, if you take Custy Amato and you put him in the ring with Larry Holmes or any of these other people, Custy Amato himself would get demolished.
Yeah.
Right? He'd get destroyed. And that's because his role was as a coach, an advisor. He had the knowledge. Tyson was the one who was in the ring, right? That was
Right.
the one that needed to be the one there. And that's the same way it is now. We do have a role for well-educated individuals with transferable skills coming from different arenas, business arenas, other arenas of caretaking the environment and society. But their role is not as the decision maker. And that's what's really jacking up the KCRHA. Service organizations will go where the money goes. They'll do what the grants say. So if they can get money by not doing the right thing, whether intentional or not, they're not going to do the right thing so they can make the money. You write up a grant that says do something that historically has been proven to be a failure, then all the service organizations are going to compete for that grant. And they're going to continue doing those types of failed actions and activities until the money changes. And the money won't change until the decision-making mechanism changes.
Right. Which is really troubling because our data is not spectacular. Like the GAO, the Government Accountability Offices, in their investigation of HUD, determined that HUD's data for homelessness just does not reflect reality. It just doesn't. And we've seen it time and again here in King County. And without proper metrics, how do we determine the measures of success? What oversight and what accountability is needed that we don't have?
Well, I think there's two things that play here. If you look at DARPA, and this again goes with my analogy, just because
DARPA.
it's
What's DARPA?
accessible. Right, it's the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency. And the reason why I go to that is because the military industrial complex is huge, and the homeless industrial complex is getting large like that too. And since they are so visible, then it's a ready analogy that people can access. They can understand what I'm talking about if I say a military euphemism. So when it comes to DARPA or some of these other places that they contract with, they're contracted based upon field results. They do have a role for funding people getting ready for the field results, but ultimately what gets you in a good position as a military contractor is field results.
The train is approaching Kent Station.
And now, in addition, it's technology.
Personal belongings and
using the best available technology, computer systems, AI, these things that work alongside people to track and record, to analyze, and to suggest the next route. And really, the mark of a person who is good in any field is flexibility and adaptability. And that means that the strictures under which they operate have to be loosened to accommodate that person's experience, that person's knowledge, that person's ability to perceive and interpret their environment in a way to get a good outcome. And that is kind of what I am getting at. What I'm getting at is that it's not so much the oversight as far as a board, but it's a sort of dual oversight of utilizing the best technology available, because we keep track of our nuclear warheads, so we got some tracking technology.
We do.
But also the oversight of outcome, meaning field test this stuff. Quit putting these policies together and pushing it out there and getting the money for it and not field testing it. Get people out there to go do some stuff, and then you'll see some good results come back from all corners of the industry.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the resource provider's perspective on that would be, because from their perspective, they're in their little silo, they're doing their thing, their expertise is within their own silo, and they see what they see. They see their day to day, and they become an expert in their system. And their tracking mechanisms exist. And I'm just wondering, how do we not have that data? What is it that we're missing, and why? Are there incentives that make them hide their real data and spin it so that we're getting fuzzy data? Or is it just that they just don't know because maybe people just leave their system and go to a different silo and they're like, oh, well, they're gone. And go to the next one. Or maybe it's all of the above.
Well, I think it does go down to structure. It does go down to structure. So it's like this. If a person comes out raw, they have a desire to do something, to be of service, whether it's to serve their country or to serve their neighborhood, to serve their community, to serve their environment. They come out raw. They go into a good institution of training, and they learn how to serve. And then they go out into the field and they count on the skills that they acquired in their training to serve them well, so that way they can get the job done. And you normally, in many arenas, find out quickly what training institutions don't work and which ones do, because the outcomes are what people judge them by normally. So normally, you will consider a military or an intelligence agency good based upon the outcomes they consistently get through the generations. They'll have an institution of
Do not
success.
lie down or place feet on the seats.
And
Keep
uniquely,
belongings under your
almost
seat or
uniquely,
in the overhead rack.
inside the arena of homelessness, you consistently have the existing institutions saying that the results that they gain are not quantifiable.
No.
And so they are negating the ability to establish a track record of success, an institution of success. They liken themselves more to the medical field, where if you serve 100 people who've had heart attacks and keep them alive, nobody says the medical field is bad because there are 1,000 people that they get served. People just uniformly agree that you just need more slots available, more doctors. And so they are hyper-focused in the medical field in a way where their outcomes are based upon a set of criteria that their own institution subscribes to. Success for them is living through this heart attack. Success for them is this person living through this brain surgery. And so with the homeless industry straddling these different realities, they liken success to that person that they put onto a cot, or that person that they got into detox, or that individual that they gave a blanket to. And as a result, nobody's measuring their utilization of resources and how well they're actually doing that. Nobody's comparing the outcome. There's not a sharp and hard field that evaluates them in the same way that they evaluate a surgery or the field that they try to align themselves with. So if I hand you a blanket and I say that I gave you a blanket, that's good enough in the homeless industry. Whereas if I did a surgery on you and you live till tomorrow but die the day after, that surgery would not be considered a success because they're going to track it, right?
Okay,
They're looking at the outcome.
Yeah, so what should we be measuring?
So there's two things we should be measuring. One is there has got to be the logistics that are up to the task that we face. Meaning logistically, we have to know what it is that we're trying to turn.
The train is approaching.
What are we trying to do here? Is the number, let's say, the 26,000 people who are identified in a point in time count? is the much greater number of people who are couch surfing or who have already been served eviction notices or who are 3 days away from being served an eviction notice and don't have the money and won't have it within the next 3 days? What is the logistics? What are the things that we're dealing with? First of all, that has to be clear. They have to be clear. What are we up against? We know who the Soviet Union was. We know who Russia is. We know who Ukraine is. We know who Israel is.
So a clear delineation of each individual's needs. And then how do we measure? I mean, everybody is so unique, right? Everybody's situation is so different. How do we measure from one person to another? Or do we just take the aggregate? How long did it take for this resource to transition this person to this point? How do we establish those measures?
I think in different eras of time, different things aren't all the way possible in the way that they are in others. And this is no different. We definitely have the tools available to track these things, right? We definitely can follow through on this. And while there's no guarantee to life for a healthy person or a sick person, there's a law of averages that's at play. And there is a measure of quality of living. Okay. And so until we start creating artificial standards for the industry and understand that the standard is a quality life, the quality of living that we are pushing toward, that we all collectively say there's a quality of living index. They rate Denmark, they rate Sweden, they rate Switzerland, they rate the United States. There's a quality of living index. They know what it takes to live a quality life.
That makes sense. I will say this: we are out of time. You want to give one last quick statement, and then I'll give us the end of show dialogues. Any last words?
Okay. So here's this. This is the thing. I do not think that any institution like this gets reformed by appealing to the institution. It's that same adage again. No oppressor willingly took their foot off the neck of the oppressed. Yeah. And it is up to us, in a fashion that even Machiavelli supported, to do it ourselves, to utilize our experience, our ingenuity, our connections, our relationships, and to do it ourselves and show people until the model that
revolution is here. The revolution is here. That's what I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm Sam Harris. This is Seeking Change. Stay tuned for Seattle Here and Now. Quick promo, Make Music Day, June 21st. Live performances all day on Rainier Avenue Radio at Seattle Pier, Columbia City Theater, and citywide. All right. Thanks so much.